All right, so today we're going to talk about something that's I really enjoy, and that's isometrics. Now, I've been in the strength training business for the last 30 years, and over 30 years, I've never had actually one person get hurt doing any isometrics, yet they are a critical component on how we can add strength, or even right now, if you don't have a gym, how you can spice things up. So the best way I like to use this, for example, is doing a set of push-ups and then working a pec isometric. And we can do that in a number of different forms. And I always coach my clients to do it in a manner that they feel the target muscle group. So a pec isometric would be something as simple as squeezing your hands together, right? After you do a nice set of push-ups, squeezing the hands together is gonna get a good engagement in the pecs. My preference is the hands about navel height, sort of like you're doing a most muscular pose, and I'm squeezing as hard as I can for the allotted time. So when I design this for my digital clients, this is perfect to do in home without a crazy amount of weight, or let's say they're traveling. They can do that isometric in conjunction with our push-ups and get kind of that fly feel where you're getting a nice isolated pump into the muscles. Now that's isometric. If we're going to do isotension, and this was sort of coined by Charles Atlas, of course he was in the pinnacle of human development, but he was onto something, and that comes down with like just basically flexing. So if we're doing a most muscular isotension movement, you're doing it as repetitions like you're doing a cable crossover. Are you working against some resistance? Yeah, you're flexing really hard so you can enhance development. And again, these are tools to use. Can they be a complete or an end all? Potentially. I prefer to use them in conjunction with some of our movements. So most muscular isotension, just flexing into this position. Pec isometric here, squeezing in lots of different positions, and I vary depending on that person. Remember, we're trying to get that target muscle group some work. The next thing we want to talk about isometrics. I'm using my old purple belt, jiu-jitsu purple belt here to talk about a deadlift isometric and also a shrug isometric. Again, if you're traveling, you don't want to travel with a bunch of weights, or potentially, like right now, there's nothing available for us. So these two types of isometric movements are critical components that can actually enhance your strength without the use of weight. So I like to take my belt around my hands. I'm going to step out at a distance so you can see it. I'm going to loop it around my feet. Now for the shrug variation, it's a little bit higher. But remember, this belt isn't going to go anywhere. So when I adjust here, once I get the position, and I pull up against it, I'm doing an isometric of my upper traps, right? So I'm pulling against really hard. Of course, I'm not moving, but I'm working against a fixed position, just like pushing against the wall. If you push against the wall, can you get strong? Yes, absolutely. Some of the strongest people in the world did sort of a hand and thigh lift, which is basically an isometric of the whole body. And so that's a shrug isometric. You're pulling against a strap, a yoga strap. You can go to get nylon cord or webbing at any hardware store. If I was going to do it as a deadlift, I sort of do the same thing. And depending on the person, I tend to recommend certain body positions. For example, if you have trouble getting out of the hole, out of the bottom on a deadlift, well, we can work this isometric at the bottom. For the most part, I want about a 15-degree hinge when we're doing a deadlift isometric. So do the same thing in this instance here, just to make it easy for demonstration purposes. I'm gonna wrap my hands around here and here. From here, I'm gonna pull up forcefully up against the strap. So I'm working those deadlift muscles, the posterior chain, mid upper back, glutes, hamstrings. So that's a deadlift isometric. Those are some of my favorite isometrics, along with the classic, wall sit where you're up against the wall here. Again, I've never had anyone get hurt doing any of these isometrics, so they're amazing ways to burst through. If you're stale in your muscular gains, you can really improve that and spice things up if you're traveling or don't have any equipment.